a phone call from KDO and asked me if they had one bedroom available if I'll accept it, and I said yes.
Tonight, a non-profit group in the Yukon is fighting the northern housing crisis by building affordable apartments.
It's a testament to the interest in a character that's authentically Indigenous, not a character that is a stereotype.
Reconciliation at Comiccon? Indigenous comic characters make a big presence at this comic festival in Montreal. And it's an image that's gone viral. A man wearing a gas mask because his community has been told not to even inhale the steam from their water. Tonight, we talked to the man in that photo. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. There's a housing crisis in the north, and it's getting harder to find affordable accommodations. But one organization in Dawson City is taking steps to help Yukoners find a place to call home. APTN's Chris McIntyre has more on this story.
When Sheila Vichaqua retired from the RCMP in 2018, she knew she wanted to stay in the Yukon. Then her aunt told her about a brand new building in Dawson City.
Although I had my mom and I was just so used to living on my own for so many years. And when I came here, I knew it was home right away.
Sheila, who is Tetlik Gwichin from Fort McPherson, now lives in a one-bedroom apartment located in downtown Dawson City. Anyone is eligible to apply for a unit. The only criteria is you have to want to call Dawson your home.
Each unit has its own
The building is owned by the Klondike Development Organization, a local nonprofit. One of the groups behind it is Chief Isaac Incorporated, the development corporation of the Klondike Gwichin. The project wasn't profitable for developers, so the KDO decided to go ahead and take the project on themselves.
We went down that exploration and you know, for a nonprofit we had no money, so you know, we had to really look at how we can make the agencies and the government work together, and with the municipality, you know, federal, territorial, and a nonprofit, and how we can make that work.
Jackie Olson is the KDO's president. Teaming up with local Yukon contractors, this is the second building the KDO has completed. The building is full with tenants ranging from First Nation elders to young single working professionals that want to work and live in Dawson all year round.
We're helping people who make Dawson their home get established. You know, so we're hoping this is a temporary stay for them where they're not doing the 6-month shuffle that happens in Dawson, and they can get themselves grounded and maybe purchase a house in the future.
Sheila was one of 30 applicants that applied for a unit in the 8-unit building. With there being a waiting list, she wasn't sure she would get one.
While I was doing shopping, I got a phone call from KDO and asked me if they had one bedroom available if I'll accept it, and I said yes.
The Klondike Development Organization is now looking into securing land around Dawson for more housing units in the near future. Meanwhile, Sheila Vichaqua is now settled in and has no plans to move anytime soon.
There's like no hassle of anything. They're very welcome in the town, people are too, and it's a nice home.
Chris McIntyre, APTN National News, Dawson City.
It's a striking image of a man sitting at a table and wearing a gas mask. It's been shared thousands of times on social media. Adrian Sutherland is in the band Midnight Shine, but he lives in Attawapiskat First Nation in Northern Ontario, and he's fed up with the poor quality of the water in his community. Recently, residents there were warned not to drink, bathe, or even inhale the steam from the water. Mr. Sutherland joins us by phone from Attawapiskat. Adrian, appreciate you taking some time for us. What inspired you to put on the mask and put the picture out over social media?
Well, I'm usually not one to go out and tweet politicians, but however, in this particular situation, I felt really upset. Mm-hmm. The morning of on Saturday, when I saw a tweet from the minister about how fresh the water was in Ottawa, how clean it was, and knowing that we had just been advised not to drink the water here in the community from the taps, and also to not bathe longer than 3 minutes in it, and wash food in it, and also there were airborne contaminants coming from the faucets as well from contamination. I just felt like I needed to, maybe it was time for me to try and speak up and use my voice just to create awareness and also to hopefully spark a conversation.
How long has the water been of poor quality?
Well, from what I understand, the water issues date back to 2001, and more particularly the current issue has been with current contaminants in the water now. I believe it was going back to 2011, from the information that I saw anyway, and just listening to the information being presented to the community last week on Friday. So it's quite some time now that we've had these issues.
So Indigenous Services is saying the state of the water is the naturally occurring result of how the water is treated. What would you say to Minister O'Regan about that?
Well, yeah, we're aware that the process of treating certain organic substances in the water creates byproducts. However, these byproducts are actually hazardous to our health, and there have been alternate water sources identified back in 2011. However, for whatever reason, they haven't moved in that direction to build a new facility to deal with, to actually treat the new water source.
How are Chief and Council reacting? We hear there was a small protest outside the band office.
Yeah, we were just over there this morning, and there was a young man protesting, and he wanted to see some action. He wanted our local leaders to put some sort of action plan in place. And I'm not sure. I know they have been in meetings. Again, I don't speak for the local leadership. However, I know they've been in meetings, and I'm told there's going to be an update this evening at 6 p.m. So I'm going to go and attend the meeting and listen.
Okay, Adrian, we'll have to leave it there, but we appreciate you speaking out.
Thank you.
Time to step aside for a quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Here's a look at Wednesday's weather forecast. Nice and sunny on the east coast. 28 in Fredericton, 26 for Halifax. Rain in Nain with a high of 9 and rain for Cartwright. 32 under the sun for Montreal, 30 in Val-d'Or, 26 in Chibougamau. 31 under sunny skies for Toronto and Peterborough, 32 degrees for Ottawa. 23 with showers in Thunder Bay, 22 in rain in Wawa. 21 under the sun in Puckatawagan, showers, and 23 for God's Lake. Another rainy day in Winnipeg, 24 is the high, 25 with showers for Brandon. 26 under sunny skies for Saskatoon, Regina, and Swift Current. Rain, and 20 for Meadow Lake and La Ronge. Welcome back. The plants you breeze by on the trail may hold powerful remedies, but it comes down to being able to identify and respect those natural medicines. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs went on the land to learn from one local in Denendeh, Northwest Territories.
Yeah. And birch leaf just by itself, just in a tea. You can mix it with Labrador tea. Yeah.
For Lila Fraser Erasmus, her traditional knowledge is of no use unless it's passed on.
The Dene have done it for centuries, and we continue to do it today, and so that's something that's really important for other people to understand. My father is from northern Alberta.
When she found herself making her own creams and lotions, she decided to start her business, Naturally Dene. Today, she's taking a group out to share the medicinal and nutritional properties of plants, along with the cultural teachings of Denendeh.
And so you always want to take the ones on the end. You don't want to take the ones in the front.
Her participants want to build bridges between their cultures and Indigenous people. Like Lucero Hernandez, originally from Mexico, but now living in Yellowknife.
You're my cousin.
For me, it's better pickup because you can to be in contact with the nature, with the mosquitoes, and you can see the real plant and the real flower.
Before this, Hernandez would go to the market for her medicines.
The Labrador tea, because normally I was thinking we can use only the leaves for a tea, but you can use the flower too.
We'll drop some tobacco as a way.
Even as they swat away mosquitoes, plants close by provide natural bug repellent.
Very good.
But Fraser Erasmus teaches them more than just how to properly identify and prepare medicines.
I always make sure that we have the tobacco, and I always make sure that we have the smudge, because I really want people to experience that and to have that information.
Jose Claremont works at the Francophone College in Yellowknife, and she says she's excited to be learning about traditional culture.
Yeah, so for me it's touching. It all makes sense, you know, it makes me understand and appreciate more.
Everyone is going home armed with plants and understandings of how to use them.
A lot of the plants that we talked about I see all the time, but I had no idea that some of them were edible.
I will use the petals for my cream and for a tea.
So you can just rub that on your skin, and so that's all that natural sunscreen that comes off the poplar trees.
For Fraser Erasmus, through medicine walks, she respects the land and teaches others to do the same.
Mother Earth needs us. She needs us to understand her. And so if we don't, then we'll continue to be destructive. And, you know, we're not, they say that we're killing Mother Earth, but we're not killing Mother Earth because she's going to survive after we're gone. We're killing ourselves. Leave it out in the sun, you can only leave it.
Charlotte Mort Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife River.
APTN's In Focus is hard at work getting ready for the new season. In Focus, we'll be looking at topics like climate change, Indigenous land management practices, and traditional gardening and medicines. Indigenous people had ways of healing sickness well before European drugs and medicine were brought to North America. And those medicines, as you just saw, still grow across the continent. In Focus takes us to the land for a preview of what's coming up this season.
It's important to be connected with the land, to spend time with the land, to communicate with the land, and to come together to share the stories of the medicines. Getting our elders and our wisdom keepers to share the stories that they were given, and we're hoping to pass that on so that more of us are collectively aware of the importance of the land and its impact on our lives.
We have the female sage, which is more delicate, more pungent, and this is what we use a lot for ceremonies. Pass that along and have a sniff. That's what that is, right? This is what that is. The female sage. Now the female sage, people can use that for a smudge. Women can use that at any time because it's female sage. So they can smudge when grandma comes visiting, right?
I came out here to learn our traditional medicines, and learn about the plants.
It heals sores that don't heal. It's called a star tree because if you look at it, what do you see?
I see a little star. Oh, very cute.
See the star? That's how you can identify the star tree, see? It's called a star tree. The star people were always interested in being close to humans. When they did come close to humans, they hurt the humans, so they went back and asked the Creator, can we be close? Can we get close to the humans? And Creators granted their wish. As a result of them being granted that wish, they gave us medicines.
is important to learn so we can teach each other. Our cultures were lost upon all of our traditional ways. It is important for our kids to learn, to teach them.
Well, I think people need to understand that relationship is a very significant and deep relationship that's developed over time. It's like any relationship with anybody. If you don't spend time, developing it and spend time speaking to one another, or spending time with the land, you're not going to develop that relationship. And as you spend more and more time, that relationship becomes much deeper, and it becomes much more spiritual, and you can actually hear the land speak to you.
Brandon, take a picture of us. Come here, Dano.
For children that are colicky, for people suffering from anorexia nervosa, this is what we will use for eating medicine.
So how would it work for a colicky baby?
Calms them down.
It smells like that,
Liquor.
Yeah. What is this called?
Licorice root. We call it eating medicine. We have a scientific name for it, but we prefer to call it eating medicine for now.
It smells like that grape water that they give there.
Yeah, it's like grape water, yes. But that's the medicines that we would use. We don't necessarily want to give it the name.
Yeah.
I know the scientific name, the Ojibwe name, and the English name for it.
Right.
So, but I prefer that we call it eating medicine.
And APTN's In Focus wants to hear about the medicines and plants you harvest in your communities and what they're used for. Tweet them at APTN In Focus. And to learn more Indigenous medicines, go to aptn.ca for our full web story. Time for another quick break, and then we're off to Comiccon in Montreal. Stick around. Here's the rest of Wednesday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. 19 for Peace River, showers and 18 in Fort McMurray. 30 under sunny skies in Medicine Hat, rain and 25 in Calgary. Showers and 18 for Tofino and Vancouver, rain and 25 in Kamloops. Sunny and 23 in Fort Nelson, showers and 17 for Prince George. 22 under the sun in Old Crow, 29 for Dawson. 23 and sunny for Fort Liard and Trout Lake. 5 with showers for Sax Harbor. 14 in Pawlatuck. 10 with rain in Repulse Bay. A sunny 17 for Arviette. 17 in Clyde River. 18 under the sun in Iqaluit. Welcome back. The introduction of Marvel's Enoch superhero created a buzz about comic book inclusion. How far have we come and how much further can we go? Lindsay Richardson hit up Montreal's Comiccon to find out.
It may be a war cry, but there's no dispute over territory here. For 3 days, over 60,000 people from countless fictional worlds hold court at the Montreal Comiccon. Dedicated cosplayers, demigods, and even demigorgons. All celebrating a collective nerddom.
Camera loves me, what can I say?
But tucked away at a booth is comic book artist Thomas Deere. It's been years since he last set up at Comiccon, which normally coincides with the Ganawage powwow.
This is the type of work that I do.
And it's a good thing, too, because today his signed illustrations are selling like hotcakes.
I can remember going to a show maybe about 20-something years ago, and it was very sparsely populated, and it was probably the size of a bedroom. And it was kind of disappointing. And it took a little while for Montreal and other places to kind of catch up to that kind of mega format.
The veteran artist, with more than 120 published works to his name, says he's also noticed a diversity shift in the business. more Indigenous characters portrayed in increasingly accurate ways.
About 4 or 5 years ago, I had the privilege of working on Assassin's Creed 3 as a historical consultant and cultural consultant, and just looking at how embraced that character was, that Indigenous character, that Kanien'kehá:ka character. I think it's a testament to the interest in a character that's authentically Indigenous, not a character that is a stereotype.
Historically, comic book incarnations fell prey to these stereotypes. War bonnets, red skin, and the savage label, all overused, even by perennial kids' favorites like Bugs Bunny and Walt Disney. In 1948, Tonto appeared, and then came Turok in the 1950s, but it was Red Wolf, Marvel's first native superhero, who flipped the representation narrative on its head after a redesign by an Indigenous artist decades after his first appearance.
I definitely like the tattoos that the character has because it's culturally consistent.
Last year, Marvel unveiled Snow Guard, its first Inuk superhero, a teen shapeshifter from Nunavut designed with a keen focus on northern culture, based on advice from Nyla Inuksuk, a virtual reality designer from Igloolik.
It's really exciting to see such a great representation of a young Inuk woman. I feel like as Indigenous people, we just can't get enough positive stories about young women who are, powerful and strong and doing what they believe in, and in this case, like saving the world.
A far cry from predecessor Nelvana of the Northern Lights, Canada's first female superhero, the daughter of an Inuit shaman. And while there's progress...
Oh, there's that villain from the new Spider-Man movie over there.
15-year-old Patrick Zachary says he'd even like to see a character with powers inspired by his own Mohawk community.
Maybe like healing, or maybe like telling the future or something like that. Something that's often associated with us.
With more Indigenous artists coming up through comics, Deere says anything is possible.
I think there's a lot of potential there, and these artists are really fantastic artists. They're not there because they're Indigenous, they're there because they're good storytellers.
Little by little, making moves to ground the fantasy world in reality. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
Great story. It looked like a wild time over there. That's your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For much more, including a story on an AFN regional chief facing removal and the Native Women's Association suspending its president, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.